there will be job losses.
In a phase where everyone was trying to understand it, where there's like this huge fear element.
What skills and habits do you feel like we need to learn before the machines take over? Do you think people will get angry, frustrated with it?
Critical thinking, question everything.
Do you think we're like in a hype period right now? Do you think we've reached the peak? Hello, how's it going, everyone? My name is Kafil and this is Ben, and we are starting a podcast. It is called A1 Intelligence, all about AI, tech, and all that good stuff. So, this is the first episode. Welcome. We're just going to be talking about all things tech, AI, everything that we love and everything that we want to get stuck into because there's a lot going on in the world and a lot of changes and a lot of things are moving really quickly. So I will introduce you to Ben and I'll let Ben take the floor. Ben, over to you.
For sure, for sure. Exciting times. Good to be here. Welcome everyone. It's this is our second recording. I had a really bad internet connection, so I had to jump on the tube. Had to like spend an hour just to get here, but we really wanted to get this podcast out. So we're starting with a bang. Yeah, just a bit about myself. I've been in the tech field for more than 10 years. I'm more in the product building space. Obviously, we connected with Kafil because we like marketing and seeing how we can tap into the TikTok, LinkedIn, or YouTube algorithm. So yeah, that's how we connected. And then yeah, we talked about like it would be super good to have a podcast about how do you actually use AI, because at the moment you see like many tools and you just don't know where to start. Like you don't really know what the actual applications are. So what we want to do with this podcast is to really have like give you that understanding of what you actually need for your business right now, what are the tools you can actually use, and what are some custom things you can do if you're open, if your business is open for that. So yeah, Kafil, did I cover there everything or?
Yeah. No, yeah, that sounds good. So, just a little bit about myself. So, yeah, my name's Kafil. I've worked in marketing for over 5+ years now. So, I've always been quite a creative person and I use a lot of tools as well. And yeah, I guess we just wanted to make this in terms of just trying to build something like practical for people and sort of bridge the gap between technical and non-technical. So yeah, like what I wanted to do is I wanted to start off with a few news stories and a few news articles which I found, and Ben will go over some of the stuff which he's found as well, and we'll just have a quick discussion about that. So let's just jump straight into it. So starting off, Ben, so there was the latest news article about a company called Builder AI that I saw, a unicorn company that actually ended up not being quite AI after all and was using actual human workers. So do you think AI is a hype? Do you think we're like in a hype period right now? Do you think we've reached the peak? Where do you see things sort of like going right now? Like because like these stories are interesting coming out, like especially a unicorn company. So
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I like to look at to zoom out and see how these things, how these trends evolve over time. I like to use Ray Dalio's framework. I think it's pretty useful how he looks at like how there are market cycles. And I would say the same thing here where we have AI. Obviously, we are in a high bubble right now, but I mean, you can see like productivity gains with this for sure. One thing is obviously that like you're outsourcing your brain cells, so that's not good. So like I think it's a new technology. We need to get used to it again, just like how we did with in the days with the internet, with the phone, and any of these things. So like if you zoom out, it's fine. We're fine. Yes, there's a hype cycle, but yeah, I think we're just trying to figure out like how to build useful tools. Regarding that company, I think they just went for it. They could have won this place in a way where they could just have started building, initial tech or all that could to dig deeper in the story goes that these guys were claiming that they were AI builders. Like you want to build something and then you just prompt it, but at the end, on the other end, like you would think that, oh, there are machines doing crazy calculations, and they just gonna build you an amazing app. But it turned out that there were some Indian software companies that were doing these jobs for them. I mean, you can see this big players doing the same, like Amazon has done this with their shopping. So like they opened these stores where they claimed that those stores are completely autonomous. AI does everything. It recognizes when you take something off the shelf, it will log to your account. But yeah, it's hard to do these things. Like I like to come up with an example, like, how we have self-driving cars. Self-driving cars needed so much data that even after 10 years, now we're at the point where they're starting to, like, they're beginning to appear many cities like Austin, San Francisco, but they're still like just maturing. So yeah, yeah, that's my take. What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. It sounds interesting. And you know what? I see that trend happening. And moving on to the next question, which I wanted to talk about, and the next news story is actually the opposite. So, as I'm a big marketing person, as you know, one of the things which I saw recently was a marketing ad for a company called Artisan AI, and their main ad along a lot of the London Underground tubes was stop hiring human workers. Now, do you feel like that kind of stuff is more like grabbing attention, just attention seeking? Because it, for me, like when I saw it, like it really stood out. And do you think people will get angry, frustrated with it? And do you think we'll see more companies going in that sort of direction with their ads, trying to be more sort of, attention grabbing, getting that? Because I found it to be really interesting considering, like we just talked about Builder AI. They were trying to claim that, we're this amazing, great company, but in the end, they're actually using human workers. So we see now a company saying to stop hiring human workers. So what's
Yeah.
your opinion on that from a marketing tactic?
Sure, for sure. Like I think it's a great marketing stunt. It grabs the attention. It has that fear element that, oh my God, AI is going to take over all over our jobs. But I think it's, again, the same thing could happen just like with these previous guys. So yeah, at the moment, like I think we're in a phase where everyone's trying to understand it, where there's like this huge fear element of like, how do I even, get AI into my business? Or even like, I think like many companies are prematurely firing their staff, and they're just realizing that actually, like, I fired someone and AI doesn't do what it's saying is gonna do. Because again, I think this tech will need to mature. We're at the early stages. But yeah, I'm super bullish. Like I really hope those people that like get fired, I really hope they get together, create companies together, because they're great people. And yeah, I think like we should be just using AI because it's gonna make our lives easier. I think it's an enhancing tool at the moment, not like a complete replacement tool. So yeah, but what do you think? Is it
Yeah, no, look, I totally agree with you. I feel like a lot of companies, yes, especially a lot of AI companies, are very much pushing the idea that AI can do a lot for you, when in reality, it has its limitations. And I agree with you, we're kind of in the infancy stages. Is some good use cases for sure. But yeah, I 100% agree with you that it still needs to mature, and we still need to get through that, I guess, development phase of it as well. But yeah, I just was interested to understand your take on that marketing, because yeah, it grabs the attention. It's something which I remembered as well. So yeah, super interesting. Yeah, and then the last thing which I wanted to talk about, the last news story, was actually one which I found quite recently. So a company called Base 44, a 6 month old startup, was it's basically a vibe coding app, and it was sold to Wix for about $80 million. So what is your opinion on startups moving rapidly in terms of growth? Are we in that like peak which I mentioned to you? Was that just a good time, connections? What do you think on that? Because I mean that's quite an incredible story to
yeah.
start something and then within 6 months it's sold. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, we're looking at it as like employee perspective and like how companies approach this. But I think again, it's the fear element here that many companies. I mean, you see the acquisitions. Meta has just acquired Scale AI. I think that these acquisitions are just like, so. I think big giants don't know how to innovate that fast. So these smaller guys come in, they just build like a vibe coding app. They're creating something useful, and I think they just these big corporations just want to tap into that, and this is how they do it. This is they acquire the talent. This is one way to acquire the talent, and again, I think it's just part of that hype cycle. So yeah.
Oh, sounds interesting. So yeah, I mean, like that's kind of like all the, I guess, latest news articles and stories which I found within the last few weeks, which I found interesting. Ben, if you've got anything which you'd love to share,
Yeah, so
I'd like to
I
hear it
think
as
I
well.
think it's
So
like the artisan is very interesting because it's also like it's showing like what the economy needs and what we need as humans. Because I've seen like these ads appeared in San Francisco as well, and even there, like they were like on bus stops, and you saw people like homeless people, and it was just such a great image and representation of society at the moment where we have AI staff doing things, but there are also so many societal problems we need to solve. And I think like the spotlight is going to this AI, and like it's great for sure, but I think like we should use AI for good as well. Like how can we solve societal problems too? So yeah,
yeah.
what's your take on this?
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, very dystopian, so to speak. So, yeah. I think yeah, definitely for sure. This is where I feel like AI can do a lot of good work as well in certain fields, whether it's in like health and medical, in terms of like improving like diagnosis and things like that. If we could use AI to like solve homeless problems and things like that, I feel like there will be a lot of use cases, and I feel like in the future there will be, especially this generation, I feel like are more concerned with a lot more, environmental issues, a lot more issues which are a lot more sentimental to themselves. So I feel like we will be seeing more companies come to fruition in terms of like growth, these different areas as well. So for sure, 100% as well. Just one thing I did want to talk about moving on was I wanted to talk about a few new AI models, which I personally have been testing out recently. So VO3. I don't know if you've used it at all that much. I did send you something a while ago, a few days ago, of some of the videos which I generated. And you know what? For what it is, it's not perfect from what I've been using it. But it does do a pretty good job at, building and creating a scene, which for someone like myself who works in marketing, and I work in a relatively small company, so I don't have a huge team that can go out and film different things. I feel like the future of content will be, VO3s, that kind of stuff, like where you're able to just write a prompt and it will be able to generate a whole scene, and you'll be able to do that like even like filmmaking, even in the filmmaking industry, they'll see a lot more people just on a laptop, and making stuff. Like one of the things I saw recently was I believe it was an ad which was entirely made from AI, for an event which was in the US. I don't know if it was a raceway or like a Super Bowl sort of thing, but it was really fascinating to see how we're moving and shifting along. So what is your take on that kind of stuff in terms of the content driven side of things? Do you feel like more people will be embracing this, or do you think a lot of people don't really want to see AI content? Because I've seen it both sides. I've seen people who are embracing it, and I've seen other people who don't want to embrace it because it doesn't come across as very authentic and user friendly.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a mixture of all these. So what's going to happen is those again, this will be a tool that is enhancing someone's job, like that can do their job so much better because like these are tools that like help you with your career, with your yeah, with your knowledge on a certain field, but it also lets you create more of a testing ground where like I a great example I've seen where there was Shopify, and they can just quickly iterate on different features. So that's more from the software field, but I think this applies to movies as well. And I really hope it's not going to replace. I mean, I've seen funny TikToks where there was this guy showing like in 2100 we're gonna have human made movies that are gonna be like $500 a piece just to watch, and there's gonna be $1 movies which you can watch, but there's gonna be ads on top. So, and those are gonna be the AI generated ones. So I think like human creativity as a whole shouldn't be replaced with these tools. This should enhance us. This should be more of a tool that helps us test the market. I think great way. I mean, I don't know why Disney is not doing it. Like there are so many viral takes on like viral like VO3 videos with Star Wars where these two stormtroopers just go in different quests and they're just so funny. And I was looking at the comments and they're just saying that like, yeah, why isn't Disney using this? And I think it's just a great tool to see what works, to get a feel of culture, current culture, and what people need, what people would like to see. So it's just a more interesting way to funnel them into um, their main content. So I think it's still like a funneling tool. But to answer your question, is it completely gonna replace industries? I don't think so. There's gonna be premium industries. It's just like how we replaced, like how we don't use the horse anymore. You still have horse races. You still have these very high end industries, these very high end, like niche, unique places where you still use those things that we're not using every day. Yeah, that was, I think that's my take on it.
All right, so moving on. So what I wanted to just have a quick discussion with you now is more of a, as you're more from like a, I guess, a more technical background, could you give more of an idea of like how you use tech AI on a daily basis? What are some of the tools and practical use cases that you're using them from? And is there a way that maybe you can help to bridge that gap to someone who may actually not be so technical?
Sure. So I think it's like at the moment you see the rise of these vibe coding tools, and it's great to see. I see many businesses like who I think these tools give you access to get to a good MVP stage where you can validate the market, where you can get some users onto your platform, and then go to investors, because I think they're still at the stage where you are not able to create enterprise level apps because you still need that domain knowledge to build those out. Maybe eventually there's gonna come out of these tools, but at the moment that's where they are. And I think like technically they're great. There's obviously Cursor, ChatGPT, Claude, helping you with a lot of things, and not, even now you can plug in your GitHub, so that just helps. And many times, I think, especially if you're building custom code, as someone who's like been coding for years, it's great because it gives you a framework. Many times you have to, when there's a new project coming in, as a client comes in, you would need to start everything from scratch. But this would give you some frameworks, something to start with, especially if you know already what are your steps. And then usually those were the very time consuming ones. And obviously the testing part, this is like unit testing. Many times those were neglected because of time constraints. So you can bulletproof your code in a much better way. But as in a product building perspective, this is great because you can also get an initial layout for your app, an initial design, smaller animations. Because I'm using it for that. So I generate a character on ChatGPT, let's say, or on Midjourney, and then even now with Midjourney, you can just create a video. So these smaller animations that always required you a designer, now you can do yourself. But again, design and branding is such a whole big field that you need like a domain understanding of, because like even sometimes me, like I have some understanding of design, but sometimes I'm just, playing with things and it just doesn't feel right, because you still need that specific knowledge of design, of seeing that whole journey, because it's a beautiful story. Like every product has to be a beautiful story. Apple does this, and other big companies too, where you have a well crafted story and you see that care and then that flow within apps. So yeah, like what as a marketer, what do you like, or like have you used these vibe coding tools, or what's your take on it, or like how does it help you?
Yeah, so from my perspective, which is quite interesting, from a marketing perspective, I've been using a lot of obviously ChatGPT to generate images. One thing is it's not at this stage super accurate, but what I found is this is the worst it's ever going to be. Like 2 years ago, the videos were just like awful, and now we're to a stage, like even images as well. Now we're to a stage where like it is a lot more detailed. There's a lot more character consistency. And for me as a marketer, like I use it for a few like promotional things. Like I said, I work in a company where we don't have the biggest team. So there are things which I can't go out and film. So a good example, what I did quite recently was my boss wanted to get a drone shot of our like van that we have it in at the company, and we don't have any of these drone shots at all. So what I did is I plugged it into Sora, used an image reference, and built that, and just got something. It's not 100% there, but it's kind of getting there, if that makes sense. So for me, I found that using it for tools like that, working with like companies, doing things like that from a marketing perspective, it just helps to speed up efficiency, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like ChatGPT is obviously the big one. One thing I use for in terms of like product descriptions is Claude, because Claude is really good when it comes to like writing. I feel like it gives better results as opposed to ChatGPT. So we work on like a Shopify based platform. So I use it to write product descriptions and just basically say, give me the key points, give me everything, make sure it's in British English, and yeah, do that. So for me, I'm using like these tools for a more efficient basis. There are still a lot of limitations like we discussed earlier, like AI and tech. It's not to that point where it does everything for you. Like you have AI agents, which I've also tested, but they're not fully accurate right now. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm use it for that efficiency perspective, and it has sped up my work, and it's also increased my productivity. So yeah, that's kind of how I see it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I,
that's
I think like content it's also like, both of us create content, and one interesting way this helps, and I built some initial tools that, like, I see a TikTok video and I want to categorize it, and as a content creator, you always want to analyze other creators, how they do things, what are the hooks, what are the main content, what are the CTAs, and just having this structure. So like I've created this simple automation and simple app that helps you just share your content with a Google spreadsheet, and then with from that Google spreadsheet, an AI just analyzes the hook and then the main content, but also the CTA. And again, the on the other side, we have news stories, which there's always content we can create things from. So like even there, like I see these like just using AI tools just to understand and for it to help me with speeding up this content creation process. So yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely, and I feel like in the future as well, it's only gonna get better. As I said before, this is like the worst it's at right now. This is the worst stage it's at, and as time goes on and as the technology gets better, things are only gonna improve in terms of efficiency and productivity. Before you know it, like one thing I even tested out as well from a personal perspective was I was testing out AI avatars. So I created an AI avatar of myself using HeyGen, and I was just creating content as well. So I feel like as well the future of content, we'll see a lot more actual creators have an AI avatar of themselves. So, say for example, if you are ill or you're sick and you don't really want to film something, as a use case, that would be a great use case that you can just use your AI avatar. And as long as people are aware that maybe it's an AI avatar, or like you're not feeling well or whatever it may be, just because you want to make content out there, I think people will be more open to accepting that. On the other hand, as well, I feel like we will start to see a lot more fully like AI influencers, so to speak. Like you mentioned earlier with the stormtroopers, I've seen one of like a Bigfoot and things like that. Where these videos are they're super engaging. I really like them as well. I find them really fun and engaging. And this is just like the tip of the iceberg. So I feel like we'll start to see more of that as time goes on. And I like we're already seeing a lot of use cases
Yeah.
for them with a lot of people experimenting with it across different industries as well. So yeah, I'm super excited to see where it goes. But obviously, everything needs to be regulated to an extent because I know that was it Midjourney who were recently sued by Disney for a lot of like copyright and IP breaches. So that's something which I feel like lot of companies will need to be wary of going forward because it's all well and good making these images and videos and things like that, but if your company gets caught up in something which is like copyrighted material or it's generating a video from that, which I don't know how you regulate, um, your company may go bankrupt and it may cease to exist because of that. So, I mean, I don't know what your opinion is on that because, yeah, don't get me wrong, all these tools, especially from the content side, are really interesting. But yeah, the IP is a big concern. So what is your like take on like IP and the copyright side of things?
Yeah, just on that, just to touch on like I forgot to answer one of your questions, which was, do people mind if these are AI generated pieces? And I don't think they do mind it. I think people will spot it, but because you can do so much better with actual editing, with any of those tools out there. To answer your question, the IP, I think IP wise, we're in a like huge gray area. Like I see left and right people, publishers suing companies, and even that was the New York Times suing ChatGPT. Or no, that was just like a New York Times case on ChatGPT where ChatGPT had to hold on to people's data even if they were deleted. And yeah, there's just, I think like legally we're entering such a gray area. Like obviously many of these tech players are trying to just completely get rid of any IP laws. But yeah, it's interesting because I mean, how I look at it, obviously, I think creators have to be paid, like have to use their own IPs because yeah, that would also shift the societal fabric. I can't really give you a good answer on this. It's such a gray area. We was like they are the providers in a sense. They dictate the pace. We will see where this can go. Obviously, the EU and the UK is more conscious of these. I see that they're trying to do some positive steps towards this. Yeah, we will see how what happens with this. Yeah, like Disney might be in trouble. I think the answer would be to work with them, like see how it benefits them, why it would, yeah, it would be beneficial for them.
Yeah. No, definitely for sure. Like because for me, I find it very interesting. This whole with a lot of like these new tools coming out, like I mentioned VO3 earlier, that will be a very critical factor. And like you mentioned it, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask. Like, how would you regulate it? And I think you kind of answered it there by just saying like rather than sue them, kind of work with them and see what you can extract from it. Because ultimately, it's moving in that direction, and companies like Disney, even from a filmmaking side, will end up using a lot more like AI generated content as well. So yeah, like is a very great area, but it is very fascinating to see where it goes and where it leads to. So
Yeah, just
yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. So yeah.
yeah. And just to touch on this point, we went to Amsterdam and we were in a museum. The museum was about, this was more the biotech field, the like how the longevity. And there was an interesting point which I still like, we went there a couple years ago and I'm still thinking about this. So what that was is, if you look at humanity as a whole, would you like, are these things that big of a thing, or is it going to help human progress? Because, like, even there, like, would you contribute your DNA and all your personal information to humanity that would help us, have the next generation live a better life? And that stuck with me of, is this kind of a paranoia we have at the moment where we want to keep all our personal data to ourselves and everything? Because if you zoom out, at the end of the day, this would be super useful for humanity if we knew this. Like if we knew every single, like that in that use case is a health data. Like if we knew everything about how people were living their lives, what effects that had on their bodies. And at the moment, we trying to safeguard this data. We're trying to, which is not bad. Like I'm not saying it's bad. It's just an interesting thing to think about, because like if these things are so close to us at the moment right now, but if you zoom out and it's going to be good for humanity, then it's good. But obviously, given that it's not going to be owned by evil corporations. So yeah, what's your take on?
Yeah, no, I definitely see it. Definitely see, like there's like you said, like we mentioned, there's a lot of gray areas with a lot with these kind of companies and these kind of subjects. It's just it's really difficult to know exactly what's going to happen, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's kind of where like I don't really know what side to take, if that makes sense. Because on one hand, like you kind of want to embrace it, but you also need to be wary of like the regulation side of things as well. So yeah, I just think yeah, just about making sure that everything is regulated, but you can't really control it because it's almost like opening a Pandora's box. Once it's open, you can't close it. You can't close it back. So I don't know. It's a strange one. It's a strange one, but it is what it is. which actually is really good because this moves into our next section in terms of like future proofing. So, with data privacy being like a huge concern, like what can we like do practically to future proof it and safeguard it? Like for me, honestly, I don't really think that we can future proof it because like I said, once that Pandora's box is open, you can't close it. You can't put it back in. You can't like go back in time and change things. Because you know what, I saw something which I found to be quite interesting and a bit freaky. So it was a video of I think two or three AI agents speaking with each other. And when they realized they were all AI agents, they switched to a mode called Gibberlink. I don't know if you've seen that video at all, but I found that to be very almost concerning in a way that they straight away knew they were AI agents and they started talking in a language which I could not understand. Yeah, there were subtitles, but if they're already doing it now, what's to say that in the future that we just don't we don't go anywhere and we
It,
struggle.
it raises a lot of question marks because I I don't know if you read there's Nick Bostrom's Intelligence book, and how the book what the book talks about is how it would be ideal to release intelligence. And in the book this was a sealed environment initially, like it was just in a lab. AI was in a lab. They didn't want to let it out or anything like that. It was just like in a black box. And then they added it to the stock market and started to trade so well, and then it solved that, and then it started creating companies for itself. So it was very interesting to see that in like in a closed environment, and we're just completely doing the reverse, where we just let this thing out there and we'll see what happens. So yeah, yeah, that's, I mean, that's the risk. Just like I've seen this with robots as well. Like I think there were some Chinese researchers that there were like five robots just standing next to each other, and then one came in and convinced the other ones to go with that robot. So that even gets more scary, because that's physical. That like you can do things in the real world, not just digital. Obviously you can do so much harm with the digital as well, but when it comes to these robot dogs, like even humanoids, that's it's gonna be, yeah. What was the question? Did I answer that?
Basically, like how do you control it? How do you future proof it? And for me, I think the answer is you can't. Like if you've got AI agents which are speaking with each other in a language which they've created themselves, how do you control that? Like I just don't feel like there is a way to control it because once that box has been opened, the Pandora's box, you just can't close it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for now, what companies can do is obviously have their own virtual machines, have their like host their own LLMs, local language models, and then work with their own data just there on their own private servers. That's the most you can do at the moment. But yeah, future proofing it as a whole, because even ChatGPT is being trained on whatever you put into it. So ChatGPT and any other language models, the way you can combat this is just like even to seal it off completely. But yeah, I don't know, again, gray area, you don't know.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then the other question which I wanted to ask is more of as like technology advances and we're seeing more advancements in AIs and different things, and what sort of skills and habits do you think we as humans need to learn to adjust and thrive in this, I guess, new digital age? Because the thing is there will be job losses as certain industries will be affected. Like copywriting, I know for sure has been affected massively. Like I used to know a copywriter, they don't have any work now because like most of the stuff you can just generate on ChatGPT, Claude, all these different tools. So, what sort of skills and habits do you feel like we need to learn to, thrive at least before the machines take over, so to speak?
I think critical thinking, question everything, because you never know what. So okay, let me retract. So yeah, I would say like critical thinking, and just looking at it, looking at the world, and asking like, how you can learn something, because like AIs are still not as sophisticated as humans, and like years of knowledge on something, let's say that copywriter, a friend of yours you mentioned, I think they are like, at the moment they will be great with working with AIs and just setting them up. because, if it really is about prompting. So if you prompt it to, a prompt needs to have its own guidance, and people with experience can give these AIs guidance. But I still think like where what we need to be aware of is not to outsource our knowledge or our brain power, because at the moment what I see, like there was just a study I think yesterday or the day before that, when like your brain on ChatGPT, that was the name of the study. And like I think when you, yeah, like we need to know how to learn. And one thing I do with these models, and I ask them as for a curriculum. I ask them for a curriculum, and I want to learn things, because even now, like for sure, like I've been using ChatGPT for year, at least 2 years for now. And I actually get annoyed that I want to write, like even that copywriting, like I ask it to do, but like I want to come up with that copy myself, because that's like an expression of me. So yeah, I think just to, that was a long-winded answer, but it's just about learning. I think it's about like understand what you want to learn. It's great to future-proof yourself by just like use it as a tool for learning, get a curriculum and learn with it, but make sure to use your brain and
Yeah.
develop that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I definitely feel like what I'm finding is I feel like I am learning with it, and I use it as that tool. So whether it's GPT, Claude, whatever, or even Perplexity, like any of like these tools, I feel like using it as a way to assist you. And like I mentioned earlier as well, it just helps to improve like productivity and efficiency. So knowing how to use it. And that's more actually one question which I wanted to ask you in terms of like prompts, what do you feel? Because I feel like obviously prompting is going to be very huge. I mean, it already is pretty big now, but as a skill, I feel like that will be definitely a tangible skill, which I think people can actually learn. So, how could you get good at prompting? And do you feel like, what is your opinion on prompting in terms of like giving a very long, detailed answer versus a very short answer? Because I found like in some cases, short, straight to the point gives you better results. And sometimes a bit long winded, very detailed, it can get a bit lost in terms of results. So, what's your opinion in terms of like prompting? Because that for sure will be big with a lot of like these engines and models.
For sure, for sure. So I think with prompting is just like how you would communicate to someone else you're hiring. So, when you hire someone, and I think the same applies with humans as well. Like when you give them so much at first to do that, like your brain goes crazy, like, oh, like what do I do here? But like I think it's just a medium-sized prompt just to give it context on what it has to do. Obviously, it helps if you have years of experience in a field, because those patterns, those framework that's applied to a given field. I wouldn't give it a huge prompt. And I think prompting is just it's again a hype word, I think, because like it really is just communication. Like how do you communicate with a person? But this case we're communicating with the machine. So one good thing as well, it develops with the chat itself. So like it will get more context on what you're talking to it, and that way it can, yeah, it can help you better, because it's just understanding the problem more and more, just like a human does. Like when you start talking with someone, you start gauging what their needs and wants are, and that develops over a conversation. So, and why I'm saying this is because what I use ChatGPT or and any other models as well, like when I, like especially with ChatGPT, I noticed that when the conversation gets too long, it starts freezing up a bit. So what I ask it is for it to create me a prompt so I can open a new chat. And with that new chat, I can continue that conversation. Or how I look at it, like there's this main conversation, let's say like that's more of a higher level conversation. And if I want to dig deeper in different topics, I ask it to give me a prompt I can talk to another bot about. Let's say, like if it's social media marketing, then I would want to talk with a bot about just LinkedIn. And then I tell it to just give me a prompt just for LinkedIn. So like I can open up a new chat and just talk with that bot just about LinkedIn.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It's really interesting you say that because I actually did this. I actually did something quite similar recently. So I went on to ChatGPT and I basically asked it write me a prompt for VO3 for Google's new VO3 specifically for that. This is what I want to do. Make it optimized for that. And I found it to be all right, to be honest. Like in terms of the actual video which I produced, it was okay. But when I did it myself, I just typed out and said, generate me a video of. I found that what works is when I do it because I know exactly what I kind of want to see. The issue which I find sometimes with ChatGPT, if I say write me a prompt for that, it will include and even exclude things which I don't really want. It's just because obviously it's just going based on whatever little description given it. So it will either expand on it or take bits out. So that's something which is interesting for sure. Like you mentioned as well, it's about communication as well in terms of like the skills. So yeah, I mean, for sure. Like this is what I've found and what I've been testing out recently with all these like different models. But yeah, that's that. And then the last question which I wanted to ask you was, where do you see AI and like tech going within the next few years? Because obviously we've seen where we are currently at is it's really impressive. Like we've got things like VL3, we've got loads of different AI companies coming out, like vibe coding tools, all these different things. Where do you feel like things are gonna go in the next few years' time?
One is like I'll answer in two ways. One, I hope we go in a direction in just in the context of humanity where we can use AI for science. It's an API for science. I think we need to double down more on science and give access to more companies to do things with that, just like with the Industrial Revolution, how we had so many patents because they were coming up with new things and new ways of solving things in the real world. I think there's going to be huge because we have so many problems. Like we have a global crisis, climate crisis. Obviously, we have so many things to be solved and again understand the universe even better. So I hope AI development goes to that direction more, and also it's gonna go robotics, humanoid development. We're gonna understand the human brain better. I think that's where these developments will go. Where I see at the moment what we're using, and if we're looking at that lens of the world, it's giving you better ads, giving you like it's just gonna be more hyper personalized ads. And I hope it's not the world we're gonna go in where like we're not gonna we're not gonna be creative anymore. I really hope we still gonna be doubling down on just using these tools as part of a workflow, but where I see this going is it can definitely replace jobs, especially jobs that would, especially with the creatives, would break the fabric of society. So I don't want that. But yeah, this is where I see it going. So how about you?
Do you know what? Honestly, I'm not too sure, but like I always feel like I don't know if you've seen the movie Ready Player One. It obviously is a digital world. I feel like give it, several years, we'll start to see more of like those worlds come into fruition, whether it's like for personal use, even for corporate. I sometimes see a world where like people will go into the office virtually. Like obviously we're speaking like this, but you put on like headphones and then you can see everyone in a room. I don't know if that will catch on, but I feel like we could see something like that happen in the future, which will definitely be interesting. In terms of like the wider like societal things, again, I feel like AI tech, it will be used for both good and bad, unfortunately, because you can't have good without bad. So for all the good uses, there will be bad uses for it. Like you're seeing stuff from a military and defense standpoint, which obviously that technology will get better, unfortunately, and it will cause, you might end up creating actual robots and Terminators, which will be good for humans. They may not need to, fight on the front line. So that's an area which I feel like, unfortunately, it will advance in those areas and cause more problems that side. But on the other side, in terms of like medicine, health, like people like say, for example, you may have like a skin tag or something. AI will be able to detect that straight away, and it will be able to detect like early signs of cancer and things like that. So you'll be able to prevent stuff like that. So I feel like it will go both ways because I just feel like that's what will happen in all the different industries. I hope more good than bad, and I hope that AI will do more good in terms of solving more, societal problems that we touched on earlier, and just generally make the world a better place. And yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I'm optimistic, but let's see what happens because there's a lot that obviously we don't know. There's a lot that's going on that a lot of big tech companies are doing. So I think the key thing is just to always be embrace it, but also be wary of it. Like don't don't fully embrace it as well. Also, kind of just keep a little back
A
for
safe
yourself as
distance.
well. question, yeah, keep a safe distance. Also, just question, like you mentioned as well, question things, critical thinking, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's how I see it. But yeah, but overall, Ben, I think this has been a great
This
first
was fun.
episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for having this. And if you've watched it to the end, thank you. Thank you for listening to us, I guess, talk about this subject. We're both really passionate about this and we really want to just make more and just learn more as well. And hopefully we'll get better as well, making this kind of stuff as well. So, yeah, thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you again for the next episode. So, A1 Intelligence. We need a cool catchphrase, but
I know, yeah. And also like we talked about like having a human advisory, human content, like have a what is it, a watermark, just a watermark
yeah, we got
on
one
this.
at the
Yeah.
top left. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. So
And
yeah,
just what I would say, like if you like the episode, definitely leave down your thoughts, and we'll read it. We want to improve on this. Obviously, we will talk about more topics as well. If you have suggestions, definitely let us know.
cool. All right, take care, guys. Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Ben, and we'll tune in next week.
Sounds good.